very welcome to Labour Lens. I am Sharon Ijasod. On this week's edition of the program, we'll be focusing on the announcement by Organized Labour, which states the commencement of an industrial action starting from October 3rd, 2023. We also have news stories for you. We will be right back.
After weeks of engagement between the leadership of the two leading labor unions and the federal government, the centre failed to hold. Both labor centres had met with the government a couple of times, but NLC and TUC consistently urged the government to show more commitment towards alleviating the suffering of the people. To express its dissatisfaction, NLC embarked on a two-day warning strike as it handed government a 21 working day timeline to meet its demands. All along, TUC expressed hope in government's ability to respond to the demands, which include new minimum wage, support for compressed natural gas initiative, fixing of nation's refineries, and end to importation of fuel, exemption of low-income earners from tax, and resolution of the NURTW and Retian crisis. But in a dramatic twist, both labor centers rose from their separate National Executive Council meetings on Tuesday. Speaking in one voice, they accused the government of insensitivity.
Whereas there is no disagreement between labor and government on the existence of mass suffering, impoverishment, and hunger in the country as a result of the hike in the price of petrol, which demands an urgent need for remedial action. The government has totally abdicated this responsibility and has shown gross unwillingness to act, abandoning Nigerian people and workers to excruciating poverty and affliction.
To direct all workers in Nigeria to withdraw their services from their respective workplaces commencing from the 3rd of October 2023. To direct all affiliates and state councils to immediately start mobilizing accordingly for action to organize street protests and rally until government responds positively to our demands.
The die is cast as Nigerians await federal government's response to the declaration of a total, indefinite, and nationwide strike by organized labor.
In a shift towards the digital era, the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, in partnership with the International Labour Organization, organized the training of potential and returning migrant workers on information and communication technology skills. Facilitators narrate the importance of ICT skills to nation building.
It's very important that we need to promote these skills and ensure that no matter what you do, people have technology skills. Because tech is driving every aspect of work, be it education, be it healthcare, be it automobile industry, aviation. Tech has taken over everything. So I'm glad to be part of the people to train these young people. As you can see, many of them were able to produce technology like a kind of payment system. Or now you can also avoid fraud and all that.
When you look at where tech is sitting, there are a lot of people who are moving, whether they're moving physically to other countries or whether they're moving physically to other jobs. So talent management needs to keep happening, which is why this is obviously very important.
Graduates of the ICT program spoke on the innovative ideas they have been able to come up with during the intensive training.
A safer method, a safer way for making payments. So literally what we could come up with was just to create a safer way to ease all these fraudulent activities in making payments. Exactly. That's just what we come up with. I can also be developed to do other functions apart from some like fuel and payments for fuel. It can be used to make payments for other stuff. It's a work in progress stuff, so we can develop on the NECA pay and make it more advanced and more lucrative for other businesses and everything.
Certificates of participation were presented to graduates of the training program. They promised to contribute to the ever-evolving landscape of the digital economy.
I think the position of the NLC and TVC is very clear. because it trickled down the pains of the economy. How many of us that are gainfully employed? Out of the 200 and something million Nigerians, those who are gainfully employed by the public sector and private sector, they are not up to 100 million. The rest population are struggling to meet by themselves. And by the time dollar is at 1,000 to a naira, to a dollar, I mean, and you bring in import, the importer, every cost, the landing cost, clearing cost, and taking this to the warehouse, it will add everything to the import goods. Take a container from Apapa Tinkan to Agbara, it's about 1 point something million. So, who are the receiving end? The masses. The masses.
It's very, very expedient for Nigerian Labour Congress to take this action, knowing fully well that when you are coming to a negotiation table, you should not have a pre-made mindset. You should come with an open mind. The government should come with an open mind. It's not as though you will reach agreement today and you hold some other things back. They should, as a matter of fact, meet the requirements as stipulated in the agreement and the communique that they signed. They have put in a very strong commitment to it, the Nigerian Labour Congress, to ensure that the workers' welfare is ameliorated, given the present situation of economy and inflation that is existing now in Nigeria.
I believe you know what is happening in this country today in terms of the welfare of all Nigerians. And we cannot still be on 30,000 naira minimum wage, and there is increment in all aspects of our dealings in Nigeria, transport, food, and every other things. We can't be on 30,000 naira, and this thing has been placed on the table for the federal government for some times now, which I believe they are using the late 30s. And the workers are looking onto the NLC, that what can we do at least to rescue them from what is happening. Not only the working class, other people that are selling in the market, the street workers, I mean sellers, they are not happy.
On the Profile Interview segment this week, I'll be speaking with the National President of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Comrade Joe Ajaero. It brings us up to speed on what the demands of workers are and what the federal government needs to do, while also emphasizing the need for the AGF to withdraw threats, position that workers and face the issues that Nigerian workers are faced with. It's good to have you, President of the Nigerian Labour Congress, on the show. It's been a very long time that we spoke, and a lot of activities has been happening in the labour sector. First, how prepared is organized labour for the October 3rd indefinite strike? And after you tell us how prepared the organized labour is, we would like you to share your opinion about the federal government announcement saying that the Nigerian Labour Congress and TUC cannot embark on an indefinite strike.
Well, on the issue of our preparedness towards next Tuesday's action, I would rather say we wait and see. You know, we have done all that we are supposed to do. As you will recall, we had a rehearsal with a 2-day warning strike. We were able to look at some areas, you know, that need to sharpen up, and we have put machinery in motion. And I can tell you that the spirit is very high for this all-important action. So, to that extent, I have not seen anybody within the Labour family, whether in NLC or TVC, that is not working towards the success. So that's the only response I have.
So what will be your response towards the government saying that organized labour cannot commence an indefinite strike action? What happens to the law of freedom of association and also the right to protest and also go on strike?
I will not go into that because the Nigerian government has been playing an old trick on and on and on. And if you have a new AGF who wants to start this way, we want to see him come and carry us from our houses and put us in the office by Tuesday. That's my response to that.
Okay, very quickly, there are a lot of demands by the organized labor. One of it is the wage award. There was also a news flitter during the week that stated that the president would announce a wage award in during the October 1st independence speech, but that has been debunked. But over time, looking at the number of months that the government has been able to have been leading, and yet the wage award has not been announced. At this point in time, will Labour still be opting for a wage award or the immediate constitution of people to discuss the new national minimum wage?
Well, the two are different things, wage award and new minimum wage. You know, the minimum wage is an act of parliament that is supposed to be reviewed next year, 2024. And it takes a long process by the federal government and the subnationals with organized private sector, with labor, you know, to negotiate it and agree on a new minimum wage. But in the interim, and with the social and economic disequilibrium created by the removal of subsidy, you know, the issue of wage award becomes very imperative, you know, as a stopgap, as an intervention process to make sure people are even alive or people who still go to work, you know, before the review of the minimum wage. So we should not mix the two. And in our 1 or 2 meetings with Mr. President, we were able to explain this clearly to him, and it's well understood. You know, on the issue of announcing it unilaterally, I think that's where the issue, you know, an award that has not been discussed, a wage policy that has not been agreed. If you announce it, no matter how magnanimous it may be, the social partners will not accept it. You know, they will still ask for more. You know, so it's better if there is a consensus. You know, you have a joint authorship of whatever is going to happen, so that everybody will take responsibility of the outcome.
Talking about taking responsibility of the outcome, how many of the social partners would you say that the organized private labor has been engaging with towards ensuring that whatever agreement is being met towards the better living of an average Nigerian is being met?
Well, for now, it has been between the government and labor. You know, NECA and other organs seem not to focus on their involvement in such meetings. You know, they were all talking about labor don't go on strike. They have not said, how do we get to the table, you know, and discuss this problem and solve this problem. So it is a problem that is affecting everybody. It's affecting their businesses, it's affecting everybody's business. So it is a matter that all of us must come to the table to resolve it, so that there will be productivity, so that the factories, the companies will work, will operate, and the workers will earn their living. And when they earn their living, they will have purchasing power to buy the products coming up from such factories. Because if there is no purchasing power, such factories will close up. So that's where we are. And so whatever we are doing now is for the survival of the entire economy, whether the formal or informal sector, you know, of the economy. So we are committed to this, and we ask all the other social partners to come together so that we can just put the economy, you know, back on track.
Talking about the economy, at several fora, the president has announced that the removal of fuel subsidy and also the floating of the naira. As an experienced trade unionist and looking at the foreign policy and the fall of the naira, would you say that this policy is working?
Well, when for a policy to work, you see it on the face of the citizen. You know, even if you save billions of dollars as in your reserve, and people are dying of hunger, and people are dying of even malaria, simplest, people are being driven out of school. People are trekking on the street. They can't move from one bus stop to the other. That economy is not working. Well, the economy is meant for the good of the people. So far as today, an economy where the currency exchanges for 1,000 naira, that economy is in comatose. That currency is in comatose. An economy where you take double of your minimum wage to fill your tank for 1 week, that economy is in comatose. So I don't know the parameter one could use in measuring the economy with all these two things. We thought that removal of subsidy is a do-it-all, pill, that immediately you remove the subsidy, Nigeria will be an El Dorado. They whatever you may gain from what they were using to subsidize will be plugged back into social investment. But today, I think Nigerians will know better, the situation. So you can ask those questions to an average man on the street. You can ask an average worker who is earning the minimum wage. You can ask the worker that sleeps in the office, takes his bed in the office, then boils something, maybe drink garri in the office, till the next weekend when he could go home. You can ask him whether the economy is actually working. Those are the areas where you have the reflection of the economy, not book economy, not book account balance. That is not how the economy works.
Beyond palliatives now, my concern will be that there's been a level of palliative that the federal government has been able to distribute to the people via state government. Well, we saw some distribution of grains in some certain states. However, my concern here as a journalist will be that what is Labour's reaction towards this type of palliative? Is this the method of palliative that Labour is actually looking out for? Because we all know that many developed countries also have a certain sector or some certain sectors being subsidized. So if the federal government is not subsidizing petroleum products right now at the moment, are there other areas that maybe from your research you think if government should subsidize, it will make the economic more buoyant and probably will have more people in the job, will have more people leave the unemployment pool?
Well, I'm surprised if anybody could say that there is subsidy or there are palliatives given to people. There are grains, and some of us give grains to our pigeons and our birds. Grains. If the level of palliative the federal government wants to give its citizens is the grains that are meant for birds, then that is too bad. If the level of grains they have given to the citizenry is enough for one family to have a cup, then you can now see the estimation, and that the level at which our people are placed. But going to the second leg of your question, this so-called 5 billion naira the federal government was said to have sent to states. Without prejudice to what one may say, if you take that amount, you can deploy some CNG-driven vehicles. You can deploy some electric battery-driven vehicles on the roads. Not less than probably 100 pieces per state or two. And then if you do it this way, a journey that was taking you 400 naira before will come to 150 or even 200. If you do that, since Nigerians commute on a daily basis, both the workers and non-workers, you would have started reducing the sufferings of Nigerian people, at least for them to move from one point to the other to make a living. That could have happened. But today, I don't know whether the money has been released or whether it was given to anybody, or whether, as some people are saying, it is a loan that will be refunded. So there's even no clear-cut directive on what that money is meant for and what it has been used for. So there are various ways, of even bringing succor, or even, bringing subsidy. There's no country that doesn't subsidize certain areas of the economy. You don't leave the people to suffer. It is clear to every Nigerian today, unlike what they were telling us before, that there was subsidy. Between 185 and 600 and something is about, almost 400. Now, I am convinced that each liter of fuel I was buying before the subsidy removal, I was gaining 400 naira each liter. So if I buy 100 liters, if you multiply 400 naira by 100 liters, that is what I have gained for that purchase alone. And that is enough for us. So it would be wrong for anybody to say there was no subsidy. And Nigerians were okay with it. But by the time you remove this, and then there's no alternative, then we are in a very tight corner.
Did you know that there's also this challenge of even having stops in which you can use to actually fill up your tank with whatever alternative energy source? There's still that argument in which these CNG vehicles is perhaps assumed that it might not work in some certain states across the country. But beyond that, well, in terms, some professionals or experts are of the view that it might not work in some certain areas across the country, that it might work in more developed states. But not delving too much into that information, we leave it for more experts to discuss. Now that the Nigerian Labour Congress and Trade Union Congress of Nigeria has actually insisted on embarking on an indefinite strike, which is starting October 3rd, 2023, is there anything you think that the federal government can do to avert the strike?
Well, you are trying to give me dual role to say what government will do. I will only concern myself to what Labour can do. For 4 months now, we've been talking with governments, we've been providing alternatives. I've been talking with you here. If you follow our conversation, I provided a lot of alternatives, to you on what we can do to make the system work. And those things we can do to make the system work are things we can do to avert not only the common industrial action, but future, to get these things on track. It's not an ad hoc measure that we are suggesting. We don't just say we no go agree, we no go agree. We move ahead to provide solutions and sing it like song. The essence of even talking about strike or withdrawing service is when you are so frustrated. Now, coming back to the CNG and the idea of it working in some areas or stations, it doesn't work by magic. Between the time the subsidy was removed and now, some stations would have been developed where you can move in and you get some CNG to refill. Some vehicles could have been converted. It's already operating in Edo for almost 2 years now. So you have to start from somewhere. By now, we could have achieved a certain percentage, even if it's 30%, even if it's 20%, and then there will be hope that this could be achieved. The same thing with electric battery vehicles. If you bring them in, and for information, somebody like some vehicles are being produced in this country, that are CNG driven. But for us to keep quiet and be talking of court order, and I want to tell the Attorney General of the Federation to open the cell tomorrow for us to move in. That threat is too much and shouldn't continue in the current political dispensation. For months, he himself cannot pioneer a negotiation by his skill as Attorney General and a trained lawyer, for us to agree on a point. And he's threatening us in a democracy that he will beat us and we should not cry. You know, I think he should not wait for Monday or Tuesday to arrest the labor leaders. Let him open the cells tomorrow for us to move in, so that this much talk about threats. You know, you threaten your citizens with jailing them, with imprisoning them, and you continue to suffer them. We have no business removing subsidy without creating the palliatives. So let's be clear about this. And from what he's saying, we are under threat. We may consider not going to any meeting. Because of that, he's released.
Thank you very much for your time. It was an interesting time I shared with you. And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember that labor creates wealth.